Introduction to Grammar in Communication. Good grammar is one of the most important aspects of clear communication. When we talk to others, write an email, or give a speech, the grammar we use can make our message more understandable and professional. However, grammar can be confusing for beginners. This essay will explain simple grammar tricks that can help anyone communicate more clearly. Part 1. Sentence Structure. The importance of simple sentences. Simple sentences are the easiest to understand. They have a subject, a verb, and sometimes an object. For example, she reads a book. A basic sentence like this can communicate a lot without being complicated. Using simple sentences can help make your point clear and avoid confusion. 2. Avoiding long sentences. Long sentences with many clauses can confuse readers. For beginners, it is better to use short sentences and avoid complex structures. Try to break long sentences into 2 or 3 shorter sentences. For example, instead of saying, "She was very tired, but she still wanted to go out, even though she had a lot of work to finish," you can say, "She was very tired. She still wanted to go out. She had a lot of work to finish." Part 2. Choosing the right tense one. Using present tense for current actions. The present tense is used to talk about things happening now. For example, I eat lunch. This tense is easy to understand and helps the reader or listener know that the action is happening now. 2. Using past tense for completed actions. When you talk about something that has already happened, use the past tense. For example, I ate lunch. This shows that the action was finished in the past. Understanding when to use the present or past tense can make your communication clearer. Part 3. Subject-verb Agreement 1. Matching subjects and verbs. In English, the verb in a sentence must agree with the subject. If the subject is singular, the verb must be singular. For example, he walks to school. If the subject is plural, the verb must be plural. For example, they walk to school. 2. Common errors in subject-verb agreement. Many people make mistakes with subject-verb agreement, especially with words like everyone or nobody. Even though these words refer to more than one person, they are considered singular. So we say, everyone is happy, not everyone are happy. Part 4. Correct use of Articles 1. Using a and an correctly. A is used before words that begin with a consonant sound, and an is used before words that begin with a vowel sound. For example, a cat and an apple. Using the correct article makes sentences sound natural and easy to understand. 2. The definite article, the is used to refer to something specific. For example, the book on the table. Using the shows that we are talking about a particular book, not just any book. This can help listeners or readers know exactly what you mean. Part 5. Punctuation for Clarity 1. Using periods to end sentences, periods signal the end of a thought. When a sentence ends, a period tells the reader to pause before moving to the next idea. This makes writing easier to read. 2. Using commas for pauses. Commas can separate ideas within a sentence. For example, in the sentence, "After dinner, we went for a walk." The comma helps break the sentence into clear parts. Commas can also make lists clearer, like apples, oranges, and bananas. Part 6. Pronouns and Consistency 1. Keeping pronouns clear. Pronouns are words like he, she, and it. They replace nouns to avoid repetition. But if there are many nouns in a sentence, it's important to use pronouns carefully. For example, instead of saying, "Mark talked to John and he said he would come," it's clearer to say, "Mark talked to John and John said he would come." 2. Avoiding pronoun confusion. Always make sure it's clear who or what the pronoun is referring to. If there is any doubt, use the noun instead of a pronoun. Part 7. Adjectives and adverbs for descriptive language. 1. Using adjectives to describe nouns. Adjectives are words that describe nouns like happy, blue, or tall. They can make communication more interesting and detailed. For example, instead of saying, "The dog barked," you can say, "The big dog barked loudly." The adjectives help give more information. 2. Using adverbs to modify verbs. Adverbs often end in "a lie" and describe how an action is done, like quickly, slowly, or carefully. Adding adverbs can make your sentences more expressive. For example, instead of "she sings," you can say, "She sings beautifully." Part 8. Common grammar mistakes to avoid one. Mixing up homophones. Homophones are words that sound the same but have different meanings, like there, and there. Using the correct one is important for clarity. 2. Avoiding double negatives. A double negative is when two negative words are used in the same sentence. For example, "I don't need no help" is incorrect. Instead say, "I don't need any help." Part 9. Practice and Patience. 1. Regular practice. The best way to improve grammar is through regular practice. Reading, writing, and speaking in English can help reinforce grammar skills. 2. Learning from mistakes. It's natural to make mistakes while learning. Each mistake can be a lesson, and over time, grammar skills will improve. Sentence structure. Good sentence structure is the foundation of clear communication. When we make sentences, we are building our message piece by piece. The simpler and clearer our sentences are, the easier it is for others to understand us. The importance of simple sentences. A simple sentence is a basic way to convey an idea. It usually has a subject and a verb. For example, in the sentence, she runs, she is the subject, and runs is the verb. Simple sentences help us to communicate basic thoughts directly and without confusion. Beginners in English can benefit from focusing on simple sentences. They are easy to create and understand. Using simple sentences can also help keep the reader's attention. In longer, complex sentences, it is easy to lose the main idea. For example, instead of saying, although she was very tired after a long day, she decided to cook a big dinner for her friends. You can break this into two sentences. She was very tired after a long day. Still, she decided to cook a big dinner for her friends. Both examples give the same information, but the shorter sentences are easier to follow. Avoiding long sentences. Long sentences with many parts can make writing hard to understand. Beginners should avoid combining too many ideas in one sentence. A sentence with too much information can be confusing. For example, he went to the store, bought some groceries, and then he met a friend and they talked about work, can be made clearer by breaking it up. He went to the store and bought some groceries. Then he met a friend. They talked about work. This way, each idea is clear, and the reader does not have to work hard to find the main points. In general, when we speak or write, each sentence should only focus on one or two ideas. This keeps our message direct and easy to understand. Pronouns and consistency pronouns are words that replace nouns to avoid repetition. Examples include he, she, it, they, and we. Pronouns make sentences shorter and easier to read, but they must be used carefully. Avoiding pronoun confusion pronouns should be clear in meaning. For example, in the sentence, John told Bill that he would call him, it is hard to know who he and him refer to. To avoid confusion, you could say, John told Bill that John would call him. Using clear pronouns makes communication smooth and avoids misunderstandings. Adjectives and adverbs for descriptive language. Adjectives and adverbs add details to our sentences. They make our communication more interesting and colorful. Using adjectives. Adjectives describe nouns. For example, in the sentence, the big dog barked loudly. Big is an adjective that tells us more about the dog. Adjectives help us paint a picture with words. Using adverbs describe verbs. They often end in lie and tell us how something happens. For example, in she sings beautifully. Beautifully is an adverb that describes how she sings. Adverbs make sentences more detailed and expressive. Common grammar. Mistakes to avoid learning English includes avoiding common mistakes. Here are some tips. Mixing up homophones. Homophones are words that sound the same but have different meanings, like there, and there. Using the wrong word can make your sentence confusing. For example, they're going to their house over there. uses all three correctly. Avoiding double negatives. A double negative is when two negative words are used together, like, I don't need no help. In English, this means the opposite of what you intend. Instead, say, I don't need any help. By paying attention to these common mistakes, we can improve our grammar. Practice and patience. Improving grammar takes time. Reading, writing, and speaking regularly in English can help you get used to the language, learning from mistakes. Every mistake is a chance to learn. Don't worry if you make errors while learning English. With practice, your grammar will improve and your communication will become clearer. Choosing the right tense is important because it shows the time of an action. There are three main tenses in English: present, past, and future. Present tense for current or regular actions. The present tense tells us about things happening right now or things that happen regularly. For example, I walk to school every day. She eats breakfast at 7 a.m. Using the present tense is helpful when talking about habits or things that are true now. It is the easiest tense to use in conversations about daily life. Past tense for actions that have finished. The past tense is used for actions that have already happened. For example, I walked to school yesterday. She ate breakfast at 7 a.m. The past tense helps us talk about events that took place in the past. This can include stories about our day, things we did, or places we visited. Future tense for actions that will happen. Later. The future tense tells us about things that will happen in the future. For example, I will walk to school tomorrow. She will eat breakfast at 7 a.m. The future tense helps us talk about plans, dreams, and things we expect to happen. For example, I will meet my friend next week shows that you have a plan for the future. Tense practice, using each tense by talking or writing about 1. What you are doing now, present. 2. What you did yesterday, past. 3. What you will do tomorrow, future. This will help you become comfortable with each tense. Pronouns and consistency pronouns are words that replace nouns like he, she, it, and they. Pronouns help us avoid repeating the same noun over and over, making sentences shorter and easier to read. Keeping pronouns clear. It's important to make sure that the pronoun clearly refers to the correct noun. For example, in the sentence, Mark gave John his book. It is not clear whose book it is. Is it Mark's book or John's book? A clearer sentence would be, Mark gave John John's book, or Mark gave his book to John. Clear pronoun use helps avoid confusion in sentences. It's especially important when there are multiple people or things in the same sentence. Practicing with pronouns. Try writing sentences with pronouns and check if it is clear who or what each pronoun refers to. For example, Sarah lost her phone. The students found their seats. This exercise will help you use pronouns correctly. Adjectives and adverbs for adding detail. Adjectives and adverbs add color and detail to sentences. They help make sentences more interesting by giving extra information about nouns and verbs. Using adjectives describe nouns. They tell us more about a person, place, or thing. For example, the red car is fast. She has a beautiful dress. Using adjectives makes sentences more vivid. Instead of just saying, the car is fast, we can say, the red car is fast, which gives more detail about the car. Using adverbs describe verbs and often end in le. They tell us more about how, when, or where something happens. For example, he runs quickly. She speaks softly. Adverbs add depth to sentences by explaining how an action is done. Instead of just saying, he runs, we can say, he runs quickly, which gives more information. Practicing with adjectives and adverbs. Describe different objects or actions around you using adjectives and adverbs. For example, the tall tree, a soft pillow, or she walked slowly. This exercise will help you add detail to your sentences, making your communication richer and more expressive. Avoiding common grammar mistakes. Even with practice, we can still make grammar mistakes. Some mistakes are very common, and knowing about them can help us avoid them. Homophones, words that sound the same. Homophones are words that sound the same but have different meanings and spellings. Examples are there, and there. Using the wrong word can make your sentence confusing. For example, their car is blue, possessive, meaning it belongs to them. There is a car, shows location. They're going to the store. They are. Practicing homophones helps avoid these common mistakes. Double negatives. A double negative is when two negative words are used together, like, I don't need no help. In English, double negatives are usually incorrect because they mean the opposite. Instead, say, I don't need any help. Practicing common mistakes. To avoid these mistakes, practice sentences with homophones and avoid using double negatives. For example, they're happy with their new home over there. I don't need any extra help. Practicing common mistakes will help you recognize and avoid them. How to your improved grammar. Improving your grammar can make a big difference in how well you communicate in English, whether you're speaking or writing. Here are some practical steps to help you improve your grammar, even if you're starting at a beginner level. One, read regularly. Reading in English helps you see correct grammar in action. Start with simple books, articles, or even children's stories, which often use basic, clear sentences. As you read, pay attention to sentence structure, verb tenses, punctuation, and how different types of sentences are formed. Make a note of any new words or phrases you come across and try to understand how they fit into the sentence. 2. Listen to native speakers. Listening to native English speakers, either in person or through media, movies, podcasts, news, etc., helps you understand natural grammar usage. Notice how they form sentences, use tenses, and follow subject-verb agreement. Listening often will help you pick up correct patterns and improve your understanding. Start with content at a beginner level, like simple podcasts or children's TV shows, and gradually move to more complex content as you improve. Three, practice writing regularly. Writing is one of the best ways to improve grammar. Start with simple sentences or short paragraphs. You could write about your day, your interests, or even summaries of things you have read or watched. After you finish, read what you wrote carefully, checking for grammar errors like incorrect tenses or subject-verb agreement mistakes. Consider using grammar checking tools, which can give you instant feedback and corrections. Tools like Grammarly or the built-in grammar checker in Google Docs can be very helpful. 4. Focus on one grammar rule at a time. Learning grammar all at once can be overwhelming. Instead, focus on one grammar rule at a time. Start with basics like subject-verb agreement or simple present and past tense. Practice that rule in sentences until you feel comfortable with it. Gradually move to more complex grammar topics like conditional sentences or passive voice. 5. Keep a grammar notebook. Write down new grammar rules, examples, and any corrections you learn. For example, if you often make a mistake with there, and there, write down sentences that use each one correctly. Review this notebook regularly to reinforce the rules. Over time, you'll remember common rules more easily and feel more confident in your grammar. 6. Use simple grammar exercises and workbooks. Grammar exercises in workbooks are specifically designed to teach you correct usage and help you practice new rules. Look for beginner-level grammar workbooks or websites that offer exercises like Cambridge English, British Council, or resources from English grammar books. Many online resources offer interactive exercises that give instant feedback, which can be helpful for learning faster. 7. Practice speaking with others. Practicing grammar in conversation helps you become more comfortable with it. Try to find someone you can practice speaking English with, friends, language exchange partners, or even online language communities. If you make a mistake, don't worry. You can learn from it. Speaking also helps you get used to forming sentences naturally and noticing grammar patterns. 8. Learn common grammar mistakes and avoid them. Some grammar mistakes are very common, like confusing its and its, or mixing up verb tenses. Learning about these common errors can help you be more careful and avoid them. There are many lists online of common English grammar mistakes. Familiarizing yourself with these can improve your grammar faster, since you'll know what to watch out for. 9. Use grammar apps and online resources. Many apps like Duolingo, HelloTalk, and Grammarly offer grammar lessons and exercises specifically designed for English learners. Websites like the Purdue Online Writing Lab, OWL, and British Council have great resources for grammar practice. Spending just a few minutes each day on these apps or websites can make a big difference over time. 10. Ask for feedback. If you're studying in a class or have friends who speak English well, ask them to review your writing and point out any grammar mistakes. If you're using an online language exchange platform, ask your partner to correct your sentences when you make a mistake. This feedback is very useful for learning. 11th, review basic grammar rules. Often, even as you learn new grammar topics, it's good to go back to the basics regularly. Revisiting simple rules will help you remember them better and use them naturally. For example, review subject-verb agreement, verb tenses, and punctuation regularly to ensure you're consistently applying these rules correctly. 12th, be patient and consistent. Improving grammar takes time. Try to practice a little every day, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes. Progress might seem slow at first, but with consistent effort, you'll see improvement. Remember that making mistakes is a normal part of the learning process, and each mistake is an opportunity to learn. "13. Try grammar games and quizzes. Many websites and apps offer fun grammar quizzes and games that can make learning more enjoyable. Games are especially helpful for reviewing basic rules in a fun way. Some popular websites for grammar games include Duolingo, Kahoot, and Quizlet. They let you practice grammar without feeling like you're studying. 14. Learn with examples. Seeing grammar rules in sentences helps you understand how they work. For example, if you are learning about past tense, look at example sentences. I walked to the store, she watched a movie, etc. Write down examples of each rule you learn and try to make your own sentences. Practicing with examples makes it easier to remember the rules. 15. Watch English content with subtitles. Watching English shows or movies with subtitles helps you see how grammar rules are used in real-life conversations. As you watch, pay attention to sentence structure, the use of different tenses, and how people form questions. This will help you understand grammar naturally over time. (16) Practice verb tenses separately. Verb tenses can be challenging, so practicing each tense separately helps. Start with the present tense, then move to past and future tenses, and practice forming sentences with each. Practicing one tense at a time will give you confidence before you move on to more complex tenses, like present perfect or past continuous. (17) Break down complex sentences. If you find a complex sentence in English, try breaking it down into smaller parts. Understanding each part of a sentence helps you learn how different grammar elements work together. For example, he went to the store because he wanted to buy milk can be broken down into two parts. He went to the store and he wanted to buy milk. This helps you see how each part connects. Improving grammar is a gradual process, and these strategies can help make it easier and more enjoyable. With consistent practice, patience, and a willingness to learn from mistakes, you'll see steady progress. Good grammar will help you communicate more clearly and confidently in English, enhancing both your written and spoken skills.